Welcome everybody who's joining us. Please introduce yourself in the chat and make sure to change your setting to all panelists and attendees. We'll get started right at 12:30 today. Hi, everybody who's joining us. Go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. Make sure to change your setting to all panelists and attendees. We'll get started pretty quickly here at 12:30. Okay, it's 12:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started today. Welcome to everybody who's here. This is our K-12 Online Teaching Academy, and we are happy to have George Barcenas here with us today. Before I turn it over to George, though, just let you know that I am Stephanie Eichley Chang, and I have been hosting along with Brian Chung Dooley. Brian is not able to be here today with us. There's been some technical difficulties, so I'm running my own show today without my right-hand man, but I think it'll be just fine. Anyhow, I wanted to just go over the announcements just verbally with you today, just to let you know recording will be available afterwards and shared with you. Your video and audio are automatically turned off, so please make sure to use the Q&A or the chat to communicate with us. And George is going to stay on at the end instead of popping over to a debrief session with us today, just because of, today being a little bit different with our webinar. We're going to have him just stay on and answer questions through the chat at the end. So hopefully you can stay for that, and he can stay for probably about 20 minutes or so, I believe. So anyway, I would like to turn it over to George. George Barcenas was lucky enough to be our guinea pig on day one of our first webinars in this series, and he's returned, so I guess it wasn't so bad. But he's coming from Bellevue School District. He's tech coordinator, and he's going to share lots of great things with you today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, George. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me start off with how I feel. So right now, I don't know what your situation is, but winter is coming. And we've gotten to the point now that I want to kind of share what we used to be able to do in the classroom. It's not going to work the same way. So I want to make sure you know my background. She says I'm the tech coordinator, but I was taken from the classroom. And I was taken out of that from the classroom because I was in a position to help teachers learn how to use these skills. So I went from, being in the classroom to being in a district office position to help teachers use technology. Now, I never, ever imagined that we would be in this moment where right now we don't know. Our plans are changing from day to day on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so I just want to give you ideas with the way that we lecture or the way that we teach. I use that word as a kind of a border. But really what I want you to do is I want you to be a detective. So right now I want you to know that I want to get to you today is I want to show you the ways that we can use free products. And I'm going to tell you the biggest free product that I use on a daily basis is Google. So right now I know some of you guys are PowerPoint users or some of you guys are Apple users, but I'm just going to show you in the way that I use Google with the kids. And most of the time I'm going to show you, we're going to stick with slides because it's the one that we can manipulate to fit the tone of what we want to do. So let me show my screen, and I'm going to tell you we don't have enough time to show you everything, so I'm just going to give it to you all. So what I mean by that is I'm going to share a website. I'm going to share all the information that's on here is up. Now, if you were with me the first time, you know right now I use filters. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring myself by using a Chrome extension called Screencastify, is I record my screen for one simple reason. I record my screen because I can use something called in-bed webcam. So right now I'm going to record. I'm going to bring my little guy in, which is me, as a small little icon. If you were with me the first time, you'll notice that I use myself as a human mouse. So I'm going to close all these things. And so right now, I want you guys to know I use this as just an engagement tool, whether it's the filters or whether it's me floating around the screen. This is how I do all these things. So right now, the first thing I want you to know is up here is where the information is for where the website is. So it's bit.ly slides for all. So that's where the information will be, and it's all hosted here for you, and it will not go away. It's something that I always want you to have. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, starting on the home page, since this is your first time maybe with me, and I know right now I'm not only talking to you right now, I'm talking to the future you that's going to watch this video later on and go, okay, where was he going? Is I'm going to work as fast as, not as fast as I can, I'm sorry, as in depth as I can, going through from left to right all the way across. So I'm going to show some of the best tips that I have found in using Google Slides to be able to go through from something called Reveal and Divided Image. I'm going to give you a template for Choose Your Own Adventure with Google Slides. It can be used with anything. I'm going to give you my comic book template, and then I'm going to give you all the templates I've ever found. Because this is the anti-teacher pay teachers. This is teacher give teachers. And I mean by that is I feel the more that we create and share, the better we are as a community. So right now, winter is coming. We can all stand on our own and try to figure this all out, or we can combine our efforts like what this event is and be able to give it out freely. Okay, so right now, what I'm going to do most of today is I'm going to stand on the home page to make it simple. So I took the best hits from the other side and I put them in one page so that you can find them easily as we go through. Now, this is usually titled Changing the Way We Lecture, but right now I've retitled it with little BB-8 as A New Hope. I want you to know that what I'm going to give you today is I want you to know it's what my teachers have asked for me. And as the more I share this, I start to see that, you know what, didn't realize how big some of these things were for teachers right now in the atmosphere that we are and how we have to teach. So I'm going to tell you right now, this first one doesn't really knock my socks off, but for teachers, it's been one of the ones that go, George, you didn't know how much I needed this. So right now, one of the things that we use for lecturing right now is that we try to give stuff to kids to edit, and it's not working out because a lot of our stuff that's it's in kind of a worksheet PDF format. So one of the things that I have worked with my teachers is how to change our PDFs into a slide so the kids can edit and we can work together. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this used to be a really anti-me. I do not like worksheets. It's not the way that I think. But one of the things that I have found is some of my students were traumatized with the change of going remote learning, is they were no longer able to interact the way they were used to. And some of my kids learning all these new apps and all these new programs and all these new things coming at them is that they weren't used to the format of what they were accustomed to. Now, here's the thing. I want to tell you, though, we can do better, and I want to show you. So right now, I want you to know this is how the format is. I am going to repeat myself 3 times almost every single time. The first time, I'm going to show you. The second time, I'm going to repeat what I did. And the third time is when I believe we're ready to understand. This is from my first video that I talked about. This is the way I teach. The first time you say my name, so my wife says George. First time, I have no clue she's talking to me. The second time she mentions my name, I'm like, oh shoot, she's talking to me. I should pay attention. It's the third time when she's the most frustrated that I'm finally ready to learn. I'm going to use that same format to you because I know right now, some of you guys are going to put in the chat, he's going too fast. But remember, this is a recording. The recording is to the future you, so you can go through this. Now, let me show you how this is. This first part right here gives you my instructions, but I gave you a template that you can copy. So right now here, we're in the button down here, copy PDF to slide. If you just want to watch me this whole time, this is not, it doesn't have to be interactive because I might lose you, but you can just watch what I'm going to do and I'm going to repeat everything for you. So right now I'm going to click on this button right here, copy to PDF slide. And when I copy it, it's going to open up a new window. All you got to do is click on make a copy. and then it'll open it up for you, and then you guys have it. So right now, I'm gonna copy, make a slide, and then here are my instructions. Now, let me make sure you know how I do this. Right here are the written instructions, and I want you to try them all out. Now, you'll notice as this is loading, right now, one of the things will happen is I'm gonna cover up the instructions that don't matter, make you see what I want you to do. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I've done this 2 different ways now. We can change Google Slides into what it looks like paper. We can change the format of the layout to make it look like a paper or like a page. We can change it to 8.5 by 11 so it looks the way that it looks like on a Google Doc. To do that, all we're gonna do is follow the steps that are above. So right now, you'll notice that the part that is yellow, file, we're gonna go to that part right here. So right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop up to here where it says file. And when we go to file, you'll notice that on the bottom, it'll say something called page setup. And I'm gonna bring my guy down so you guys can see it. So I'm gonna click on file, and on file, this down here says page setup. And when I click on page setup, it allows me to change the sizing of what I want the page to look like. So when I click on page setup, now you'll notice that it's set up to 8.5 by 11 inches. Now, by default, I believe it's like widescreen 16:9. The reason it's this way is because it's in that landscape long presentation format, but we can change it to make it look like docs. So right now, I'm gonna hit widescreen, no. I'm gonna hit custom, and when I click on custom, I change the sizing. So I think it's 8.5 by 11. And then make sure it's in inches, and I hit apply. Now, nothing really magical happened because it's already in that format, but right now, by doing that, it allowed me to put it in that top format where it looks like a document. The second step is you have to know right now that view allows you to get to the master. So it's the one that is the creation. It's your master copy of whatever you created. Now, the reason the master is so important, and when you're doing in Google Slides or actually in PowerPoint or anything, is that master, you can't move the stuff that's in the background. Now, I know right now, you guys will see this. You have to look at what it does when you click on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow the format. So right now, notice that the first one here was file. This one is what it looks like view, and I'm gonna go down to where it says master. So I'm gonna click on view, and when I click on view, I'm gonna go down to the drop down that says master. Click on view, go to master slide, and on the master slide, when you go there, you'll notice the screen switches color. So now that it's this dark gray, that means I'm in the background of everything. I'm in the background where the magic happens. Now, to just show you what this means, the master is what plays its way through each of them. And right now, you'll notice that there's one called the master slide, and then there's all these different layouts that I can design. But whatever I do to the mama, so I'm gonna tell you honestly, the more I say master, the more it's getting to me. I'm gonna call it the mama. Usually when I talk to kids, I don't call it master, I call it the mama. It kind of follows down from there. So right now, I'm gonna click on the mama. And what I'm gonna do is whatever I do to the mama trickles down to everyone else. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click, and let's just drag something. Let me drag my little happy face Bitmoji. And when I drop it into the master slide, it'll go through all of them. So right now, oops, I'm on the layouts. So let me cut that out. Let me make sure I'm clicking on this one over here. So click on master, and whatever I do to this one will trickle to all of them. And what I mean by that is you'll notice right now that all of these down here, every single one, whatever happened to the mama, trickled all the way through to all the different layouts. All of them have that Bitmoji. If I only put it on one, it means it only stays on that one. So right now, let me just change that again. I'm gonna cut this out, and let's put it just on layout 1. So instead of doing the master layout 1, I put this here, and now you'll notice that now here, it's only on this slide down here. It's not on all of them. So whatever you do to the first slide, which is called the master, and I call mama, it goes through all of them. Now, when you're sitting and going, George, all you did was add a picture. Here's what I did. I'm gonna click on the X over here so you guys can see what I'm doing. If I click on the X over here, notice what I did in the background is I made a change, but look right now, I can't touch it. It's not a clickable thing. It's in the background, it's baked into the paper, and the kids can't move it, they can't change it, they can't do anything with it. So a lot of times, if I wanna put a map on there, or if I'm going to put, one of my science teachers put a cell structure and put all these things in the background that the kids can't touch and manipulate, then you can design your slides with them not being able to access the background. They can do stuff on the top and manipulate. So I'm going to show you how we go that way. But the first thing we needed to know is how to get to the master. So let me do that one more time. I'm going to go through and I'm going to go to view. When I click on view, I'm going to go down to where it says master slide. So click on view and then click on master, okay? Once I click that, and if I know I'm in the master, it's that dark gray. If it's that white, that means you're on top of everything. If it's that gray, some of my kids call it being in the oven. So you're in the oven before it gets baked. It's just the analogy they use. Whatever I do to the master slide or the mama slide, whatever I do to the background, what it does is it allows me to design without the kids ever being able to touch any of the things that are on there. So let's actually do one of the things that my teachers do all the time. Let's go through and add just a worksheet. So let me just add a simple worksheet. Let me delete what these things are called placeholders. I'm going to delete the placeholders so I can design it the way I want it. And I'm going to move my little Bitmoji. Now I'm going to tell you, for those of you that are like professionals and want your own letterhead, this is where you would insert all those things that can't be moved. And you would put your business title. That's where I learned this, because I was like, wait, how did they do that? And that's where I got my idea going through the master slide. Now what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to look up a worksheet. So I'm going to open up another tab. And then I'm going to just type in a worksheet and let's see what we get. And most of the time I'll tell you, you should already have these. These are already things that you own or you created or you have, and then you have that. But right now I'm just going to go through and take one. So let's go through and look at different ones. And I'm going to look for stuff that I can use. And so let's just pretend that this worksheet that's about to open up. So this worksheet right here, this whole multiplication worksheet, this is what I need and this is what I have. So most of the time, it's stuff that you already have. That was my biggest thing, because I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to get into the copyright thing, but don't be taking things from other people that you don't own. But most of the time, it's stuff that you have or stuff that's in your book. So sometimes some of my teachers, they take pictures of what they have already that they're already using in their workbooks, and then that's what they're giving the kids so they can manipulate and edit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend right now, I'm not going to do anything with this, but just practice. But I'm going to pretend that I own this, or this is something I bought from teacher pay teachers that are never interactive. So I'm going to take this. Now, I'm going to tell you the trick. I could download this, and if I downloaded it, I can upload it. But the way that I do it, if it's something I have already and I just want to make a copy, a one finger is what's called a left click. A two finger is a right click. If you have a mouse, like I have a mouse also here, a mouse, one finger is the left click, a two finger is the right click. So right now I'm just going to use my fingers on my trackpad and go two finger click, and it opens up the right screen menu. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to where it says copy the image address. And I'll repeat this again to show you that again, but I'll go copy the image address. Now, one of the things you need to make sure is I'm copying the image address from the bigger one. If I copy the image address from one of these little tiny ones, what'll happen is that I'll get a tiny little picture. If I copy the one that's the bigger one, I get the bigger picture, okay? So how do I do that? Let's actually do one of these other ones. Let's do another math one. Let's do this one. This one's super simple. So this one. So notice I clicked it there. That's called the thumbnail. Now I have the big one. How do I get the right click menu? Two finger tap. So two finger tap opens up the right click menu, and I go down to where it says copy image address. I could also save the image, but then what happens is you have a ton of images you have on your drive or on your computer that you don't delete, and then you wonder why your computer is slow is because you have all these random PDFs that you've downloaded or saved, and you never get rid of them. So I always teach my teachers to copy the image address. So we copy the image address, and I drop it in my slide. So let's go back to my copy. I'm going to come in here, and then in here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where it says insert. When I insert it, I just go through where it says image. So one more time, click on insert, because I'm inserting what I brought in. I'm inserting an image. Now, do I want to upload it from my computer? No, I didn't actually download it, right? If I had downloaded it, yes, you want to click on that one. So right now I didn't upload it. I'm not going to search the web for it. It's not on my drive, but it would be great if it was in my drive. It's not a photo that I have. I'm going to insert it by my URL, which is what I copied the image address. So I'm going to click on that, and all I do is paste it. Now I can hit insert, and I paste it in that PDF of the worksheet that I have. And I can move it around a little bit, and I can place it where I want it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this did not excite me when I was working with teachers on this. It wasn't until I saw the kids get like, oh, I can do something with this, and they could figure out that their eyes lit up. And I started saying, oh, this is about us changing the way that we interact with whatever you have. It allows us to create within a Google slide. Now, remember right now, all I've done is I put it into the background. And then right now, notice I can't touch it. I can touch these other things. See how these blue boxes come up? I can delete things, but I can't delete what you put in the background. So you can design it any way you want. The final step in this process to be able to create something that's interactive is you got to understand this little thing that's here on the bottom. Text box is for teachers. Placeholders is for students. So the text box is for you to write instructions, to give details, to do things like that. But the placeholders is where the kids get to write. So let's see what that looks like. So right now, I'm going to go back to the master. How do I get that? I come up to view. When I click on view, I choose master. Okay, so right now I'm trying to repeat myself over and over so you guys can see this. Now let's put in first a text box. So right now, when I click on insert, you notice that I have a text box option here. So let's just do one of the simplest ones. Let's draw the text box we want. And on this one, I'm just gonna go name, right? Name is pretty simple, put the two little things there, and then I have that, okay? Now what I want is I wanna put a placeholder where the kid can write their information. So right now, depending on what grade level you're looking at, please think about this and how you use it with them. Now, all the way on the bottom, make sure you can see it. All the way on the bottom, there's something called placeholders. So right down here is placeholder. On a placeholder, I can choose these different options. So let's just do a subtitle one so you can see it. All they basically are in the sizes you have. Now, right now, I'm going to make this in here, and then I'm going to change the size because it's too big. So I'm going to go 12. And then I might even change the font because I like different fonts. And so right now I can manipulate it just like you do in a Google Doc. And then I have it in there. So right now it says name, then it has a placeholder. But what does this look like on the other end? So right now I click on the X to get rid of this. And then I come out to the front end. And now you'll notice something that's here. There's this box with a circle. Now remember, this is a text box. This is a placeholder. And what the placeholder allows me to do is I can click in here and say my name is George Larsenis. And then now you'll notice that I can't select this because it's a text box that's for teachers, but you could put placeholders everywhere and the kid will have this box. Now here's the best thing about a placeholder. If I delete what's inside of a placeholder, look what happens. It switches back to a placeholder. If you delete what's inside of a text box, so yes, you can add text box everywhere, but the moment a kid deletes the text that's in there, it's invisible. Kids don't know where it is, and it's really simple to get rid of. But if I put placeholders everywhere, then you can put whatever you want. So I'm gonna tell you right now, up here, placeholder, up here, placeholder, up here, placeholder, right? Now, to give you an example of what we did is we had a teacher challenge. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this process, but I'm going to show you on when we started to play with this, what we were able to do. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to come back to the slide presentation or the site that I created for you. And below this one, this is the one you can practice on. Below on this one, this is version 2.0. This is the master slide templates. This one we totally changed because we figured some things out. So let me click on this one, and it's going to ask you to make a copy because I want you to have it. I don't want you to email me. Can you get that? I want you to have it flat out because it's yours. So I'm going to click on make a copy. It's going to make a copy that's going to go in my drive, and it's mine. So right now, I mean, it's mine because I owned it, but it's also this copy that I just clicked on to make a copy is going to be in your drive also as your own. Now, notice something that we've learned. The first time we did this, we kept everything vertical. And what happened for the kids when they were doing this, when it was vertical, is that it kind of shrunk a little bit on the screen. So depending on how big their Chromebook was, it wasn't really clean. So what we did instead of making it vertical is we put everything on its side, and look at this. So here was the challenge. The challenge was that my teachers who were kind of like, oh, I want to do this worksheet, is they needed to insert the worksheet on slide 1. And so right now, notice right now, addition plus 0, 0 plus 9, 2 plus 0. You could add those little placeholders there, and that could be the end of it. But look at version 2.0. This is the same thing, but what we did in the master slide is we went through and put the school logo. Here's the name. Let me do my worksheet. So I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to click to add my text. So right now, I'm going to go George. Okay, that's right there. Over here, let's see how quickly I can do this. 0 plus 9. Okay, so right now I'm going to click in here. I think this is 9. 2 plus 0, I think it's 2. 0 plus 8, I think it's 8. 0 plus 6, I think it's 6. 1 plus 0, I think it's 1. Now, the reason I want to make sure you understand is we just took what the teacher gave us and we just made it in a way that you could share this in Google Classroom. You can share that everyone gets their own copy. The kids could fill this all out. You can do all the same things you could do in the classroom, but you can do it in an interactive setting by using Google Slides. Now, there's a lot of products out there. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a product called Cami. There's a product called, oh shoot, I can't, Adobe something. Oh, and the reason I'm saying all these products are out there is at some point you're gonna have to pay. What did this all cost me? $0. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know what your situation is, but our situation is I'm collecting pennies to figure out ways to get things done right now. And right now, I don't have money to buy for all these different products. So what I have to figure out is I have to use my brain. I have to figure out how to make it interactive and how to engage the audience. So right now, instead of giving that worksheet where it's a PDF that they have to write on, you have to, oh, one of the teachers was doing this. She was giving it as a picture. The kids had to download it. They had to write on it, and then they had to hold it up in front of the camera so that the parent could send it back to the teacher. This just solves that. So right now you notice these things up here are placeholders. The text is the stuff that's on top. Let me give you one more option of what we did. If you want to use this for writing, here is, and let me zoom in because you guys need to see how small this was. So you're doing your favorite animal writing prompt, right? Here's the questions, research, directions, the writing prompt. Write these 3 websites, books you listed. You're supposed to do a summary. It was a whole writing assignment on how to do this. What does version 2.0 look like? Let me show you. So right now, and these are all yours, you have them. So right now, I want you to just take a moment to look at this. So right now, all the same information is all around here. Here's the same thing as the writing. Here's the research. But because we created this, we can make this more fun and engaging. So right now, your favorite animals, right here on the bottom, I have the favorite animals. Now notice right now, this is something you can click on. You can write, oops, I'm in the zoom in thing. You can click and write your information. So if I click in here, I can write my summary. So right now I can say, I love this. I wish I had known about this, blah, blah, blah. So right now I could write anything I want in there. Notice when I click over here, add text, here is some text. So now all this stuff is clickable and the kids know. Now the thing about using text boxes is sometimes they're easy to delete. A placeholder is really hard to delete because first you have to delete the text and then you have to find the box and delete the box. But notice once I go off, it's all there. What about this awesome stuff down here? Can I touch it? No, it's the master slide. You can't touch it. Now, what if I wanted to view it? What if I wanted to see it? Because I gave you copies access to this, it's already yours. How do I look at the writing? How do I design this? How do I get to that? You should be saying to your computer right string, George, go to the master slide. How do I get to the master slide? You should be repeating George, click on view. When you click on view, go to master, and when you click on master, it turns to that gray screen, and now you're on the back end. And now I'm going to ask you, let's change one of these animals. So right now, let's click on this wolf print or whatever dog print, and let's pick an animal. So right now, let's look for an animal that we can put in here. So right now, one of the easiest ways to design is let's do this copyright friendly. Let's not break some laws. So right now, the easiest way to do this without breaking laws is where this little images icon up here. If you click on it, always search this way if you don't want to break laws. So click on it and go to search the web. If you click on search the web within the Google Slides, what'll happen is you'll notice right away that this will tell you you're only going to get stuff that's free or labeled to reuse. So right now, instead of me using something that I don't own, this will give me only things that I can use. So let's look at, we have a wolf, a dog, a cat, and a chicken. Let's look at a rabbit. So rabbit, that's the first thing. So right now I have rabbit poop. No, I just want a rabbit. And then now I'm going to do one of my favorite things is I'm going to search by something called a PNG. A PNG is just a sticker. It's not the whole thing. It's just a small little sticker of what I want. So right now it's transparent background. So when I click on this, I'm going to look for a rabbit and oh, this one's good. I'm going to click on it. Now, I'm not going to click on it. I'm going to do the easiest things possible is I'm going to drag it right into my slide. I clicked and dragged this free for label and reuse. And now notice the background. Notice the background isn't there. It's just the rabbit. So right now, what I just added was called a PNG is because I liked it just to be its own sticker. And then we're able to do that. So right now, I can just drag it in here. And just like before, I can play with things in the background. I can do all this. And the moment I go through and I click on the X, I click on the X, what that allows me to do is now I can't move this anymore. So right now that is there and it's not touchable and I can't do anything with it. And I'm able to go through that and do that and it works fine. So right now, no, on that, you have that, oops, sorry. You have that and it's all there for you and you're able to use that right away. So right now, this is not touchable. It's not touchable. You can't do anything, but I can design in the master slide to be able to give the kids the information without them having to do anything but interact with the content. Now I'm going to tell you, I did not think of this as something that was engaging until I saw how it impacted the learning for kids all of a sudden going, I can't do what I used to do before. So if you ever have something that you want to design, please don't just make the PDF and just put the boxes in here. Think about how can this be done better? Does this look better than this? Which one's easier for kids to interact? This one or this one? Now, you may go, I just don't have time to do this, but I'm asking you, if we are really going to be stuck in this distance learning model and going through that, we have to change the way we interact with our audience because we might lose them, not because the content is boring, but because we're boring. And I know right now, I just switched my camera. I just turned it off to switch my camera, is that right now, there's a difference between me just being me and me being a Pikachu. And some might find that distracting, but it's about engaging the audience. So right now, I just want you to think about those things. So as I do those things, it's for me to find a way to interact with content and changing from the way that I teach in a way that it's just one-dimensional. Think about how I can always give these handouts now in a Google slide that they can edit. Now, Stephanie, I have not stopped. I'm about to transition to something else. Is there a big, big question that I can answer right now before I move on?
I don't think there are big questions, just a couple little questions, and I think you're best to answer this, but do you recommend Google Slides more than Google Docs just because of all the ways you can interact?
I guess there's nothing bad about saying this. Absolutely. Google Docs is not fun. If you've ever tried to insert an image in a Google Doc, you're gonna be pretty close to the point of insanity because of the way it moves everything around. So right now, I could design, if you saw right now, I can design it exactly the same and make it look like a Google Doc, but have, I mean, look at this. I have images everywhere. I have things that I can make boxes and put the text where I want them. It's just, think of a Google Doc as what is probably, it's just giving them a white sheet of paper. A Google Slide, because of the images process, is like giving them something that is in a more interactive form. So I'm going to tell you, when I open up a Google Doc, every time I'll forget that I'm in a Google Doc and I'll try to insert an image, because the other thing I can do is I could also do this. So right now, here's a lesson on, what is this, addition? Okay, sorry, as a lesson on addition. Here's what you can do in a Google Slide that you can't do in a Google Docs so much easier, is I can do this. I can go insert. You don't have to go to the master slide to do this. Go to insert, insert video. Let's insert a video of addition for second grade. and then I'm just going to search. I would, and if you went to my first session, I wouldn't do this. I would actually go through and research the best video and make it a playlist. So go back to do this. Don't do what I'm just doing right now. Let's do double-digit addition. Let's pretend this is what I wanted. I click select, and what I can do in the Google slide is not only can I have them interact with the slide and type all the stuff, but here's a short little video on maybe me talking about the lesson or them getting something that they needed. This is where this, to me, is the ultimate teaching tool right now, is that a Google slide can have a video inside the document inside where they, so like they can also, again, 7 + 0 here, I can still edit everything. And if I'm stuck, I can watch the video or whatever you want to do. A Google Doc, not the same. So I just want you to know, I'm not talking trash about docs. We all grew up, we were using Word and typewriters and stuff, but I'm just saying Google Slides is a more interactive tool. Okay. All right. Now I want to give you what you might need. Let me give you what you didn't know you needed, but this is my favorite tool. Okay, so right now it's still Google Slides. So right now all I gave you was content that you can deliver to students that they can go through. Let me go through basically, I do keynotes. And right now one of the things that throws people nuts is I do keynotes in Google Slides because of what I can do with images. So right now what I want to do right now is I'm going to continue down that homepage. So right now on that homepage, you'll notice that these first two were about the PDFs. Now let me go to one of those moments that you have in your life when you're able to like look at things and go, you know what, I didn't know that was possible. And then when it did that to you, what happened is you came out of an experience, you all of a sudden started to look at things a little different. So right now my screen froze a little bit. So let me refresh the page because it won't let me scroll down. And what I want to show you right now is in Google Slides, one of the things you can do is you can drop the images. And what you can do with the images when you do that is you can go through, oh, wow, what is going on? We had let me exit my page and then come back in here. So let me go through. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to bring back that image because I don't know what just happened with that page. It froze. Our internet went down today. Someone cut the power to something they shouldn't have, and it caused like a ripple effect that I was in the middle of like a conference call with parents, and it was like and you guys all know what happens when you guys do these things is sometimes the internet will be funky, and I thought I was trying to figure out what was wrong with the internet. It wasn't the internet, it was that someone cut the line and we lost it. So today my computer's been kind of like, hey, I hate you because you did that. All right, we're back. See, I can scroll. Now here's what happened. I went to a presentation on history. I'm going to give credit to Ryan O'Donnell. If you ever heard him, he did something that got my mind going, and I've been using this for everything from that moment he did that. So let me go through and share kind of what I learned in that process of going through this and going, hey, what could we do if we use Google Slides in a different way? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to demo something called divided image. And divided image, such a simple tool, such a simple way to do this, but it changes your mind. So what I've just done is I've inserted an image as the background. You can do this in the master slide, but I'll show you a quicker way to do it. If you just have one image, you can insert it as a background and it becomes the background. Now, what I can do now is I can cover up that image and reveal things one at a time. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover one square, and when I uncover that one square, I've not shown you the whole image. So what I want you to do is, so some of my science teachers, I saw some of you guys put it in your science teachers, you can cover part of the cell, or you can cover part of the organism, or you can cover part of whatever content you want. For your younger grades, you could cover up as you tell the story, and you're revealing things as you go through. So all I've done right now is I've cut out one corner. And when I cut out that one corner, this might not be as useful since we're in an interactive environment. In the classroom, usually you have your projector pointing to the wall, and the kids in the front can see clearly what's going on, but the kids in the back are like, what's going on? I'm not engaged because I can't see. So one of the things I've learned is you can also reinsert the image again and make it bigger. And then you ask those questions, like those I wonder questions. So what I would do if we had a little more time, because I want to get through everything with you guys, is I would ask you in the chat to go, hey, what do you see? What are the tricks? Be a detective right now. And then when you're being a detective, try to figure out what is happening in this image. So right now, I would give you some time to talk and put in the chat, but right now I want to move you forward and then show you how to build one of your own. So right now, most of you would start saying, hey, it looks like he's picking something up. And so my question would be, is what is he picking up? What do you notice? And some of you guys might be like, hey, it looks like he's picking up a rock, but I'm not sure. There are no wrong answers in the discovery part. There's no wrong anything. You just go through and try to figure out, what does it look like to you? Now, some of you guys that have better eyes will look at his arm and go, hey, it looks like this guy works. It looks like he has either he's dirty or he has soot or something you're trying to figure out. One of the things I love to point out to kids is right now, what is he doing with his other hand? And the kids will point out that it's a fist. And I'll ask those questions. Hey, what does that represent? What does that mean when someone does that? Now, for those of you that know, I do this all over the country, and sometimes they don't understand this one, but this is the one that kids love to tell me and say, hey, Mr. B, why is he wearing an in and out hat? Now, you guys know what in and out is, but you guys have seen the people wear those hats. But the first time I heard that, I was like, what are you talking about? But then I figured out that they were putting their prior schema. They were trying to figure out for what they represented and what they thought. So right now here, that's a clue. Now, the other thing the kids will notice right away is they'll be like, hey, why does he have no shoes? Why does this kid have no shoes? And then why is he running to the middle? Why is he running to the left? What is going on? Now, this guy right here, what does this symbol mean? What does it mean when you do these things? This is a universal symbol for what's going on, what is happening. Something's going on, and this person wants to know. Now, all through this first part of discovery, there are no wrong answers. And I'm like, what are you thinking? What are you talking about? It's all about discovery. Now, remember, the clue was, we cover up the image and we only reveal one part at a time. So instead of getting kids to look at everything at once, we want them to only look at one section. So you notice right now, we have one side that's open now. So one side that's open, and then we reveal something that the kids may not know. Now, again, I'm going to tell you, I grew up in Hayward, California, and I knew a little bit about this, but not a lot. And now I'm teaching out in Santa Rosa, California. My kids don't understand what this is. They don't see this because industry is not in our area anymore. So when they look at this, they go, what is that? And they'll come up with some really interesting ideas because they don't know what it is. And when I tell them, hey, this is a smokestack, their brains automatically go, what? That's in our vocab. Because for a kid, the word smokestack doesn't really make sense. It's like I used to teach Spanish, and I had a foreign exchange student that come up in one way and says, George, Mr. B, I don't understand the assignment you gave us about what we got when we were at Safeway. And what I was trying to tell him is that grocery store, Safeway, which I thought the kids all knew, but this kid who had never been to Safeway, that word made no sense because he wrote whole paper in Spanish about standing in a doorway and making sure he was in a protected space because he took the word literally. Smokestack is that same thing. So if our kids don't have context, they have no idea what the heck you're talking about. So to be able to show them and make them be interactive with it and then having them figure out what the clues are, it's a way to engage them in a different way. The other thing I'll ask them this question, and I know right now I'm going kind of fast looking through all these things, I'll ask them to say, hey, how many more fists do you see? Because we already talked about what a fist represents. This is a very forceful action. This is not as relaxed as an open hand. A fist is I'm going to do something. And the other thing the kids will point out is like, hey, Mr. B, I see there's another guy grabbing a rock. I don't know, maybe. So this whole thing is about giving them a chance to get into the picture. I'm using a Google slide and I'm just uncovering one section at a time. Now, the one that I learned on this going through this whole course is less is more. I have a couple teachers that go way off the rails with this. They do way too many. I would say 4 is the magic number. So right now, this is the big across. So right now, this is like the drawing them in. So right now, one of the things the kids notice right away is what they used to think was clouds maybe. They'll start to notice that, whoa, this is all smog. And they'll see the other smokestacks and what they're contributing to the environment. And they'll also see these things in the background where the buildings are gone. Now, 2 characters I love to bring into attention here are these 2 guys right here. So let's do this guy here at first. What does this guy represent? What do you see in what he's looking at? And if you notice now, I'm going to mimic it a little bit. You see his hands are in this position. You see the big eyes, and you see the worried face. He's representing fear. Something's about to happen, and this guy can see it. This guy is not feeling comfortable with what's about to happen. Now, the opposite of this guy is this guy right here. This guy right here does not feel fear. If anything, you look at it, you see anger and you see power. Now, one of the things, not to the kids, what does the top hat represent? Because right now, if you play the game Monopoly, the top hat is one of the items that you can use that represents power as you go through that game. Now, one of my kids a couple of years ago came up to me and said, "Hey, Mr. B, I think this guy's mad." And I said, "Yeah, he looks angry, doesn't he?" And he's like, "No, no, no, I think he's crazy." And I started to look at him and I was going to dismiss it and move on with my day, but I had to ask, why do you think he's crazy? And then he went into teacher voice and said, "Mr. B, in this time period, what they would do with the top hat to keep its shape and it's shiny is they would dip it in a substance called mercury. What would happen is when the hat would get wet or the brim where the sweat would accumulate, it would seep into the brain, causing something called Mad Hatter disease because it would cause brain damage." And he said, just like in the book Alice in Wonderland, the character the Mad Hatter is has that happening to him. Now, when he said that to me, I'm going to be honest. I was like, that wasn't in the book. I was just showing them this picture because I thought it was cool. And I didn't know any of this at all. The reason he got into it is because it went from just a subject to a story. And when it's a story, you're willing to dive in more. If you don't believe this really works, think about this in the movie Endgame. If you watch the movie, there's a death in the end of that movie, of the Avengers Endgame. And there's a character, a very famous character that dies. At the funeral of this famous character, the camera rolls through all the people in the crowd. And as they get through all these major famous characters in the Marvel Universe, there's a random kid, a random boy in there, and the camera keeps on going on, and then it never explains it. It never talks about it. It just moves on. After Endgame came out the first day, the next 3 days, the number one Google search was, who was the boy at the death scene at the end of Endgame? Now, I'm going to tell you, the reason that happened is because it went from just being a story into an engagement. The reason the kid went to further down the rabbit hole is because all I did was allow them to explore and get deeper into it. Now, to get deeper into it, I still haven't revealed the big reveal. This is the big aha. Now, the big aha is really powerful in this one because what do you see for the first time? Right now, let me point out right here. This one is one of the ones my kids pick out right away. You see the mother with the kids, and you see her standing there looking up and being worried. She's standing up at this moment. Now, the reason I love to point this out is because in this story, this throws my kids off. In this story, this woman represents many things. The biggest one she represents is that she represents the immigrant. Now, the kids will get thrown off by this. I work mostly in a Hispanic district, and my kids say, "Mr. B, she's not an immigrant." And I'll be like, "Why?" And this is because she's white. And I have to let them know at that moment that everyone has a story. Everyone came from somewhere. And when you look at all the things that have happened, we can learn from them. And she has a very powerful story to share. The other one that you see for the first time, the other woman is right here. Right now here, you guys can see her. She's in a very strong stance. She has her hand up on this man's chest, and the other hand is in this position. You'll see this a lot in religious photography or painting where it has that be peace with you, calm yourself. So hand on the chest and the other hand up. The way that I think this is so powerful is because what is this guy doing up here? He has his hands out wide, kind of shoulder shrugging. He's in the position, what I call the husband position, because he's going, "What do you want me to do?" All this is going on. There's an interaction, and all this is done through body posing and just revealing one section at a time. Now, when you do it this way, all I have to do if I do my job is showcase one section at a time, let the kids discuss and get into it. And right when they get to the point where they want to learn, I go through and tell them, this is the magic word. Give them the title, the name, and then just say, Google it. And what happens in that moment is it goes from another lesson, another boring section to me going, I want to know more. Now, when I was first presented with this idea, I'm going to tell you, I was like, man, that's such a cool picture. I wonder if there's a history story with that. I went back to my classroom and I found it. This picture was in one of my books, and we had never covered it because all we do is we get through the next chapter looking for the words, the quiz at the end, or whatever we're supposed to test at the end. We get to that and we miss these opportunities to tell a story. So this changed me in such a way that I share this all the time. because how I view things now. Now, these are the tips that I learned. Is right now, find the perfect image. If you can find it where it has perfect multiple elements, that's better. Notice the picture I gave you didn't just have one. The practice one I'm about to give you is about finding things that have multiple steps, that it's just not one image and you're done. It's about multiple images that you can go through and tell a story. Now, I know that image. I almost know it by heart now because of how many times I've done it with my students and we get to it. So right now, all I was doing was being a navigator for you. I was asking you questions without telling you answers. If you notice, there was almost no text until the end because right now I wasn't going to bore you to death by PowerPoint and just clicking through and reading what's on my stage. I was trying to get you to interact with the image, find the things, highlighted them. Now, I highlighted them pretty quickly because in the time frame that we have, I was able to go through, but I was modeling how I would do it. I would keep asking groups, what do you think? What do you see? Nothing is wrong. You can actually observe some things that you may have missed because kids are more observant than us sometimes when it comes to when they're engaged. And the final one, and this has got to be the best advice I wish I'd gotten when I was a young teacher, was that, George, don't ever give answers. Give them breadcrumbs. If I tell you the name of that and the time period of that, I rob you from the opportunity to get into wrestling into the whole idea of what is it? What can be happening? What do I wonder? What do I see? Those questions that draw interest in. Now, the quote that I got from a teacher is this: it's not about having them remember the image, it's about the skill in which they got their analysis. I have learned so much through this process of me being able to look at it and going, hey, what can I learn from this that can be impactful? What can I learn through analyzing it? Now, I'm going to tell you, this whole practice helped me so much when one of my biggest failures is that every year I would fundraise my butt off to get my kids to go to the San Francisco Academy of Arts and Sciences, and I want to be exposed to things that would draw their interest. But what happened is the moment we would get there, and I'd pay for their entrance, and they would go in, is they would run through all the exhibits and then meet me I almost felt sometimes I was walking in as they were ready to walk out and go, okay, when are we leaving? I saw everything because they were looking at everything and not interacting with anything. And by doing this process of blocking one thing at a time and getting to them, it allowed them to see things in a different way. Now, when they look at it, they're looking through quadrants and they're able to go through this a little bit deeper and a little bit more in depth. That I'm the one going, hey guys, it's time to go. Now, let me show you, let's practice with one of the ones that I have for you. This is a project we literally did right before we went on recess for COVID, and we never got to finish this. So what I want to do is I want to show you where we were going through this and show you where we're heading with that. So right now I'm looking at the clock. I think I have 10 minutes. So I want to practice and show you, create one from scratch, and I'm going to use my steps as instructions. So like everything else, here's the template. And then right below, it's make a copy. If you make a copy of the Frida thing, it's already completed, but I just want you to see it so you always know how I created it. Because I feel like if you know how I created it, then you'll start to go, oh, I see how I can do this, but I want you to create your own. Now, here's the way that I broke it down for you. I put my little guy off screen, and I gave you the instructions. Okay, so right now here on this, oh my gosh, sorry. I want you to search for this image that I'm going to give you right now in a second. It's still loading. I want you to search for this image called the two Fridas. Okay, the instructions are red are the ones that are important. I want you to search, and I want you to search for the image called the two Fridas. So right now, just to show you that I'm going to do it from scratch, I'm going to build it from scratch, is I'm going to click plus to add another blank square. And then what I'm going to do to make sure that this is easier for me is right now, up here, when you don't select on something, in Google Slides, the moment you select on something, all these options show up to edit. So here's all the text, here's all the font options. But if I click on the gray, you notice those options go away. And what I'm left with is these four options: background, layout, theme, and transition. Right now, I'm going to go to layout, and I'm going to make it blank. So right now, I'm going to click on layout, and then I'm going to select the one up here called blank. And it just made it a blank piece of paper. Now I got to insert an image here. So I already told you what I wanted you to do, but let's make sure you guys see it. I want you to look for the image called the two Fridas. So I'm going to scroll and I'm going to do a Google search, and I'm just going to title it, I'm going to look it up, called the two Fridas. And the reason I want to do this two Fridas is a very famous picture that I think is powerful. But the one that I want you to use for this one, for the kids, is I want you to want the one here that has her in the image. So if you don't know who Frida Kahlo is a famous painter that has a story for my kids that they love. So right now, how do I get this image? I go up and do the 2-finger click, the right click, and I'm going to copy the image address. Okay, copy the image address, and I have that. I'm going to go back to my slide deck, and I'm going to insert this as the background. Now, I already told you, remember where it says layout? Layout, we make it blank. But when I click on background, the option I have now is I can go background, I can change the color, or I can click on choose the image. And what I'm going to do is I want to make the image the background. I want to make it the background so you can cover it up. I'm not going to upload it because I didn't download it. I'm not going to take a picture of myself. I'm going to insert it by URL. So when I click on this, all I got to do here is paste it. So since I copied the image address, I just paste it by going Control V or right click and hit paste. And here it is, the image, and I hit insert image. Now what it'll do is it'll put it as one big image and it has it on the background. Now just to answer this question, because some of you might be thinking this, why did I not do this when I was doing the master slide and just make the worksheet the background, is it'll stretch it to the corners and it'll sometimes make it look pixelated. So right now I just want this image as the background. Now I want to cover it up. Now again, I want to make sure you know, I told you the steps right here. On step 1, search for the image called the 2 Fridas. Then we're going to insert it as a background. Check, we did that. Then cover the image up with shapes. Okay, so let's cover it up with shapes. Now shapes is right here. So I have it as a background. Shapes is the one right up here. It looks like a circle and a square. So right now when I come up here and I click on the circle and the square, I'm going to choose just the biggest one. So I'm going to choose the one called rectangle. Now this is going to throw you off. You're going to click on rectangle and you expect a rectangle to show up, but no, you've got to draw the rectangle. So I'm going to draw the rectangle, and this one I'm going to do in 3s. Even though I told you 4s is best, I'm going to do it in 3s. I'm going to cover up 1. Let's do that again and cover up the middle. So I'm going to go to circle and square. I'm going to go to shapes, and then I'm going to go to rectangle. I'm going to draw out the shape, and I'm going to cover up the second one. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I just did it again so I can repeat it and you have it. But let's do the third one faster. Now let me ask you this. What does Control C do? If I go to Control C, or if you have a Mac, it's Command. But if you do that, that makes a copy. If you go Control V, it pastes whatever you copied. But if you go Control D, it will duplicate whatever you're working on. So right now I'm going to click on it, go Control D. It just duplicated another square, and I just saved myself so much time of me having to do that whole process again, and I'm able to cover it up. Now I'm going to tell you honestly where that came from. It came from a student telling me, Mr. B, you're too slow. Why are you always taking so long? Why don't you just go Control D? And I thought he deleted, to be honest with you. And I was like, wait, I don't know what it does. And he says, try it. And I just duplicated. So from this point on, I should have duplicated off the first one, but I wanted to show you where shapes were. Now, once you're here, all we got to do, now you could stop here. You can be gray and you can be fine. But I always do it as in black so you can't see. And what will happen sometimes is the kids will come into the classroom and it's all black. They'll be like, oh, shut up and sit down because he's about to show us something. Because there's a story that's coming that I'm going to reveal to them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first one, the first square. And notice when I click on it, I have options. Up here where there's the paint bucket, I can click on the paint bucket and I can make it black. So the reason I go black, I'll make it black. On the second one, I'll click on it and I'll go to the paint bucket and I'll make it black. Now you're going to notice something that I don't like that happens. There's always an inside color and there's an outside color. Now you may not see this, but I can see it. It's that little gray line down the middle. The kids will know there's 2. So what I do all the time is I go through and I eliminate the line by clicking on the pencil. So when I click on the pencil, it'll eliminate the line by clicking on the one called transparent. Make the line transparent so they can't see it. Click on this one, click on the line, and go transparent. So now it looks like one. Oops, I missed on one. Which one did I miss? I missed this one. No, that one's gone. This one's not gone. Transparent. Okay, so now you should see it as one solid object. Now let's do the last one. Click on the object, go up to the pencil, and click transparent, and then click on black. And now the paint bucket paints the inside, the pencil paints the outside. Now when I go to present, all you see is one big black background and you don't know there's something underneath. Now let's go with my final steps. I got 2 minutes to do this. Final steps. My final steps are, right now here, is click on choose animation to fade out the shape. So right now, when I click on animation to fade out the shape, when I click on this, and I click on animation. Now, where's animation? The moment I click on an object, notice this word here, animate. So notice right now, there's nothing here, but the moment I click on the square, this option comes up here to animate. So right now here, click on animate. And then what I can do now is instead of saying fade in, I want to go and select fade out. Fade out means it will disappear. Fade in means it appears. So I did that. Let's do that again. Click on it. Click on add animation. And then click on fade out. Okay. Now, just to do it from scratch for the last one, how do I get to the animation? Click on the square. Go up to the top where it says animate, click on that. And when it brings it up, you have the option to fade in. No, we want to fade out. So now let me show you how I would present this. Notice it's a big background that you can't see. When I click once, here's the Frida character that I want to talk about. Then here's the second one, and here's the third one. But I messed up. I wanted the second and third ones to reverse. So let me fix that real quick. I want this one to be third. So right now, all I do is I click and hold and I drag it below. Now I can tell a story. Let me tell you the story that I tell the kids that really, I mean, they were crying, I was crying, because here's the thing. A lot of people look at Frida and they only think of her as an artist, and as basically most of them think of as a unibrow that was in Coco. And they look at her as this famous person that didn't have a very powerful story to tell. Now, the powerful story that she has to tell that for my kids relates to them is that she never felt comfortable in her own skin. I don't know if you guys can tell this right now, but this is her heart. And then this character here represents her indigenous self, the person that she felt inside that she had to hide. But if you notice right now, her heart is tied around her arm and it's going somewhere else. So this indigenous self was giving strength to the person that she felt she always had to be. So this is the way that she was, her native, and this is her European self. And you'll see right now her heart is broken and bleeding. And what's happening is the tie between the person who you are and the person that you can be or will be are always, you always know the story that aquí nor de allá. It's this whole tie to the person you are completely. Now, the way that I'm able to do this in a different way is by hiding the images, by not letting them see everything. This is a real person. This is a real person's story. And then this is the big aha on how we collaborate and be able to tell how the whole thing comes together. All right, I'm 1 minute over. I'm so sorry. But again, I want to make sure you guys know all the stuff that's here. I want you to know if you want to do it with music, this is the one here. You can actually add audio into a Google slide. So this one's there for you. If you want to make Frida's Facebook, here's a slide template that we have. Notice that right now I pulled the best ones from all of here, but all these sections are there for you. And I want you to know, some of you guys emailed me from my last section. Oh, if you want to know how I'm doing the floating screen, here's my slide template. Here's the video on how I'm doing it. But here's the one that I want to make sure you know. This is my personal email. And the reason that this is here is because I know right now I don't have all the answers. I just have this small section of what I know. And I know right now what they're doing through this program of giving you the videos and being able to go back. If you didn't see my one on how to do audio or how to use YouTube to engage your audience, I use YouTube to engage my students, is that part of video series is part of this whole video collection. All these things in here are part of that collection now. And then this email address that's here, it's for you. Just tell me what you need. And most of the time I'll make a video going back to you and saying, hey, I know it was fast, but this is why I think it's important. It's about me making sure that you get the questions answered that you need. I'm going to stick around. I know Stephanie has been answering questions in the background, but I'm going to stick around and maybe hopefully answer some of the bigger questions you have that I might have missed out on. But I want you guys to know that's there for you. Please know the website's up here on the top, and don't if you don't have it, make sure you don't leave without it, because that's basically all the stuff on there. All my templates are on there. They're all there, but it's bit.ly slides for all. And then hopefully you guys learned something that you can use with your students. All
Yeah,
right.
this was great. I'm going to go ahead and just ask you a few that were coming through the Q&A that I think I know the answers to, but I think because they came in several forms, there are people still wanting to know, how do you manage, going back to the Google Slides, having a slide for each student, and then how do they turn those in? Do you just like copy and paste the slide so they all have access? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to tell you the flat out easiest way. The flat out easiest way is to use Google Classroom. Now, if you don't have Google Classroom, because one of the things about Google Classroom is in Google Classroom, you can make a copy for each student. So that's the easiest, flat out easiest way that you can do that. The other way, I guess I'll just show you. If you don't have Google Classroom, because I know some districts don't have it, if you don't have Google Classroom, let me go back and show you the other way that I used to do it before Google Classroom. So before Google Classroom, the way that I would do it is I would go through, and let me find the slide. Before Google Classroom came into my life, is I would go through and click on share. And when you click on share, you can actually share the link to this presentation. But what you're going to do is you're not going to allow them to be able to edit. So right now, and notice right now when you click on share, right now by default it's only my school district. So I always click the link, and I make sure that I make it that anyone, because otherwise they won't be able to view it. And I have to make sure I do this all the time, is because right now some of my kids are using their parents' account. So I click on anyone with the link can view it. That's the first thing, okay? Anyone with the link can view it, and I hit done. Oh no, I hit copy link. Now here's the hack. Now, Google Classroom by far the easiest. So what I'm doing is, if you don't have Google Classroom and you have to give this to them, this saves you from making each kid have their own individual copy. Now here's the hack, or not the hack, this is just the way to do it. How do I move this out of the way? Okay, here. So I'm gonna open up another tab just to show you what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna paste it in there before I give it to the kids. And I'm gonna see, I know I can't zoom on the bar, but I wanna tell you what it says here at the end. It says edit. After edit, all those words there, go all the way to edit, and I want you to write this cute word here called copy. Once you type this word copy, this is what you're going to share to the students. Because the moment I change it from edit to copy, remember how you kept seeing this blue button that says make a copy? This means when they click on this button, you don't have to give it to every kid their individual copy. They all make their own copy when they click that to you. Now what they have to do then is return it to you by sharing it back to you. In Google Classroom, this is all taken care of for you, and you don't have to do this because you just click on make a copy for each student. They all get their name on there. They all get linked to your drive. It's so much easier. But if you can't use Google Classroom, I want you to know this is the way I would do that.
Great. Would you like me to read the questions from the chat, or did you want to just read those? I mean, I can do it.
Sorry. Yeah, was there? Yeah, I wasn't been paying. It's hard. The chat closes on me the moment I go to present.
Right, and
Okay.
I'm happy to read them if it makes it easier.
Oh, sure. What's another one?
Okay, great. How do you get from the boring worksheet in slide 1 to the more interactive worksheet in slide 2? How do you change the worksheet?
In slide 1. So you're talking about.
I think going way back to the Google Slides.
No. You know what? And I know when I do this presentation, I used to be anti-worksheet, so I always just give it to people because they want it. I'm assuming she's talking about this one. I'm assuming she's talking about when we went through this. How do we go from the one that has the stuff the way it looks for the where it's actually the worksheet, and how do we create our own?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is the one that has it. No, it's not. It's the other one. All right. Wow, I'm so glad, Stephanie. If you were here by yourself, this would have been a lot of work. Can't believe you did this last time by yourself.
Thanks, George.
I owe you we always say in my district, I owe you a concha. Do you know what a concha is? It's
Shell?
yeah, it's a shell, but it's like a Mexican pastry that has sugar on top.
Oh,
All
yes,
right.
I know what those are. Thank you.
Okay. All right, this is taking too long. I don't know what's going on with my internet, so let me just open up what I think you're talking about. So let me just make a brand new copy. I usually try to stay within the things, but and I'll tell you what I'm doing is I have Snapchat plus Zoom plus this. I don't know if you guys can hear my computer, but it sounds like it's about to take off. So let me stop the recording for a second because usually I have too many things going on, and let me turn off my Snapchat. Because at some point it will. I do use it for engagement, but I also know I always turn off my computer when I'm doing these things because these things will it will make your computer go pretty slow when you're doing all these things. So right now I always have to restart it when I go. Am I still sharing my screen or did I lose it?
You're still sharing.
Okay, so here we go. So now you'll notice my computer will run a little bit quicker once all this loads because I just turned those things off. Okay, so let me just go through. I think the question you're asking is, how do I go through the design process of going through that, and how do we change it? The first one I gave you was really, really fun and simple, is that you're just basically taking the worksheet and you're just putting things on top of it. Okay, oh, the video's about to play. Let me close this. It's just, you're just taking it and you're putting it on top of it, and it's the simplest way. But what we do is we're using text box to put the font. So right now, I'm just going to use this as an example. Actually, I can just show you the back end. If you click on this one and click on View Master, you can actually see what we did. So right now, we took the school logo and we put it on the top left. I use my little Bitmoji here, but you'll notice that these right here is we just put in text boxes and we just typed out the questions. And then we put the placeholders in here. So right now, we just took, and I'm using just the information was in slide 1 that talked about these things. I'm just taking those and putting them in here as text. These are all text boxes. So text boxes of 0 plus 9, and I'm going to tell you, I just cheated. When I did the first one, I just went over here and then I just pasted it and changed it from 0 plus 9 to 2 plus 0, and then I just went through because that's basically what the worksheet was. On this one here, though, it's a little bit more, even more simpler. If it's not math, and I'm going to tell you, math is always so much more work. Math requires you to always put everything one on top of the other. But these, if you look at them, these are all just text that we put on there. So right now, see how I can put in here, George is the best. And then when I go back here, you notice that that's just the text box that I was able to write in, and it just becomes part of the background. So you take whatever worksheet you have, and you basically just typing with text box and design how you want it to do. Now, I put these shapes and colors so that they would know a little bit more about the correlation between one or the other. I put images in here because I just made it more fun. But that's all I'm doing is just taking the worksheet, looking at the information that's there, and then making sure it fits exactly what your worksheet looks like. I am not redesigning the wheel. I'm just making the wheel just a little bit faster. And so all I'm doing is taking the exact writing that's here, all the writing that's here. you notice it's all very similar, but all I'm doing is making it look better. Is that make sense? So making it fit a little bit more what I want. Does that answer the
Yeah,
question?
I believe it does. I haven't heard back from Tara, so I
Oh,
think
we
so.
can't hear them, huh? They can only type, right?
Right.
They
So they're
can't.
typing. So
Oh,
I'm just trying to interpret questions. And there's one question I'd like to ask you here about using audio, because I don't quite know the answer to this myself. So I'm just going to read it to you. It says, I've had my
okay.
students create digital stories on Google Slides, and they've recorded their voice onto each slide with the online voice recorder, but I can't hear the audio unless they share all of their audio files with me. I've learned that Google Classroom limits the number of attachments to 20 per assignment, and some students created more audio than this, so they share their audio files on Google Drive. Do you have any other audio suggestions that can skip this step so that students don't have to share their audio files with me? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um,
I guess a
okay.
recommendation.
So let me tell you how I would do it. I don't like the audio function in Google Slides. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's because you have to record it and you have to upload it and you have to do all this stuff. I'm gonna tell you how I do this. And it's kind of one of the things I ran out of time to show you is how to insert audio. is right now, Screencastify is a Chrome extension. So if you go to the Chrome web store, it's free. Now, I'm going to tell you it's free because it only gives you 10 minutes free, which I would not recommend making anything longer than 10 minutes. So all I typed in was the Chrome web store, and I went to the thing called Screencastify. Now, I'm going to tell you, I paid for it because I want to go unlimited. But for the free one, you can use this one, and you can add it to Chrome, and it becomes this little arrow here on the top. It's the one that I use to make myself into a human mouse, but it basically records your screen. And then what I do is I don't do audio buttons, I do video. So right now I'm gonna click on the record Screencastify. I'm gonna record the desktop. I wanna make sure it's the microphone. This time I'm gonna turn off my camera because I don't wanna actually see myself. I just wanna hear myself. Now I'm gonna hit record. I'm gonna record the screen I'm on, and then I'm gonna wait for the countdown. This is your assignment on how to make your favorite animal writing prompt. I want you to look at the instructions and create something that's amazing, that's to you, and I want you to have fun with this assignment. When you're done, please return this back through Google Classroom, and I love and miss all of you. Now I'm gonna hit stop. And then the thing I love about Screencastify, it's gonna literally play back. And on how to make your favorite animal writing prompt. Now here's the magic. The magic is you can save it directly to your Google Drive, right? Well, what I want to do right now is I want to click on share. Share. Click on more options. Why is this? Oh, this is in the way. Sorry. This one says more options. Instead of making it private, I say it's anyone can find and view this video. Okay. So I click on that and done. Okay? I want you to look at the instructions and create something. So the only thing I would do so I can find it, I would say video 1 or whatever, right? Now I'm going to close this because it's already in my drive. When I go to my slide, I can hit insert. I can hit insert video. And then you notice that I can search by the URL on YouTube, but there's another magic button that says Google Drive. When I click on Google Drive, that video that I just recorded is right here. So right now it's processing in order. So right now here's the video recording right here. It's there. I can hit select. So it's dropping it in here. It's putting it in there. And then this is what I do. I'm going to tell you this is my little trick with video. Is right now when I go through is I make sure the video is touching the side of the screen. So I don't know if let me see if you guys can zoom in so you guys can see this. So I do a whole thing on this on the YouTube one I did for this, but when I move over, notice that red line that shows up, that red line means as I'm attached. And that means right now this is gonna automatically play if I click this button here called Autoplay when presenting. So right over here, Autoplay when presenting. And what I do is when kids turn in their assignments or whatever, I view it in present mode. So right now I'm gonna hit present. So here's the slide. And then on the side is this is your assignment on how to make your favorite animal writing prompt. I want you to look at the instructions and create something that's amazing, that's to you, and I want you to have fun with this assignment. When you're done, please. So it's all I did is I made the video. So you saw like, I don't know how they do the video. I might have just added like 50 more steps that you want, but I use Screencastify to record whatever they're looking at. I put the video on the sides, you can never see it. And then I click on autoplay when I view it. So like one of the assignments I do is they have to create their own slide. And then over here from YouTube, they have to put their favorite song to that slide. So when I go through present mode, that's like the automatic play button. And I can go through everyone's slide, what they presented with their song or them talking about what that slide meant to them. So that's my trick with that. I don't know. It's just the way I do things. I don't like the audio button. It's not clean. Does that help?
I think that really does help because I saw the person who asked the question thanking you in the chat. So that's awesome. I think those were kind of the main big questions, but everybody who has been commenting in the chat have been so grateful for your session today and how you walked them through step by step. And I've let them know that they can go ahead and access the recording afterwards too, to go back and practice some more. And some people are even saying they were attending like staff meeting development stuff later on today, and we're excited to share what they just heard from you. So yeah, isn't
Thank
that
you.
cool? Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of this. I want you guys, let me stop sharing. I want you guys to know that is such a, I can't tell you how that makes me feel. That makes me feel so happy. That makes me feel like this. So I just want you to know that makes me like, you never know how people are going to use it. So if you can share this, please share it. We're all detectives in this thing. So just know,
Yeah.
know you can
Sounds
use it. And
good.
thank you, Stephanie, for
Yeah.
facilitating this.
Yes, and thank you everybody who attended today. I know we both had kind of a tech glitch day, huh, George? But we made it through, and I think this was great. And we appreciate having you come back and presenting for us again. So
Yeah,
I'm
whatever
going to,
works.
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out for today. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow for another webinar. Hopefully we won't have any tech glitches. Take care, everybody.
All right, bye.